PR Connections Radio presents.
Welcome to Vegas Hockey Hub here on PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media. I'm your host, Ian Rachiele. And on this edition, as the Washington Capitals Vegas Golden Knights game, that is going to be coming up. And we're going to be talking about and kind of doing a farewell of sorts as Logan Thompson Logan Thompson, former Vegas Golden Knight, now Washington Capital. After spending a couple seasons with your Golden Knights organization, I deemed it just to be fair that we would go back and look at Logan Thompson's career as a member of the Vegas Golden Knights and kind of do a retrospective. We did this with Jonathan Marchessault. We did this with Riley Smith. There's been a couple of players who have left the Vegas Golden Knights, and we have done a throwback or a retrospective on what their career was as a member of the Vegas Golden Knights. And that's what we're going to do here today, as we are going to be kind of saying goodbye to Logan Thompson, doing him a proper farewell from the Vegas Golden Knights, with the Washington Capitals game and everything that's going on there. So, as we get into this, I want to start out by stating this. When it comes to Logan Thompson leaving the Golden Knights organization, there's some people that get upset by, when a player requests a trade. There's some people who get mad and they get angry and all that stuff. I don't. When it comes to Logan Thompson, he had his reasons for wanting to leave. All right, he had some motivation. He had an explanation as to why he wanted to leave the organization. It wasn't cold. It wasn't heartless or anything like that. He simply requested a trade. The Golden Knights honored that trade request and sent him to Washington during the 2024 NHL draft. Believe me, I was doing media. I was recording footage for the 2024 NHL draft. I was there when the trade announcement happened. And even though, yes, I was a bit surprised and kind of stunned when the news broke on my tablet. However, looking at it from a hindsight perspective and taking emotion out of it, Logan Thompson, he had his reasoning. Now he's a Washington Capital. Now he's wearing the number 48. He's going to be skating for the Washington Capitals. He's going to be sharing the net out there when it comes to the Capitals organization. So before we get into the retrospective, I just want to say good luck to Logan Thompson in Washington. I wish him the best. Now, let's get into what Logan Thompson did as a member of the Vegas Golden Knights. And we're going to start this out from the very beginning, from the day that he joined the Golden Knights organization, as that happened on this date with the Vegas Golden Knights organization. As on July 13th, 2020, the Vegas Golden Knights would sign Logan Thompson to an entry-level contract. And this was kind of an interesting situation because if you didn't really know much about it, it was under the radar, like a lot of these entry-level contracts are, unless you know the person or unless you grew up watching them in juniors or unless you have some relation to them, you wouldn't really notice anything about that. It's like a lot of these minor league players and a lot of these younger 18, 19, 20-year-olds the Vegas Golden Knights have in the system. Unless you have watched them or unless you are someone who is so in-depth and you've studied a lot about the upcoming guys going in the system, this would be under the radar. You wouldn't have known much about it. So when Logan Thompson signed that deal in July of 2020 and signed that entry-level deal, it gave him an opportunity to be with the Golden Knights organization. Now, before he got there, he had brief stints in the ECHL. He had one-offs with different teams, but he really didn't have any stability. He had the New Jersey Devils. He played a few games in their minor league system. But overall, for a guy like Logan Thompson, when you sign in July of 2020, it was a chance for him to really build himself as a professional goaltender out there in the AHL, in the minor league system. So what happened with Logan Thompson in that 2020-2021 season, his first year as a member of the Vegas Golden Knights organization? Well, he did actually well for the Golden Knights, as Logan Thompson posted this stats for the 2021 season. And by the way, this is brought to you by Hockey Reference. I always include my sources just so it's fair and it is appropriate. So according to hockeyreference.com, when it comes to Logan Thompson, that 2020-2021 season, he had 16 wins, 6 losses, and 2 overtime losses out there with the Henderson Silver Knights. He had a goals against average of 1.96 and a save percentage of over 94%, which is really good for his first full season out there with the Henderson Silver Knights. And not only did he do all of that, but he also was the starting goaltender for the Henderson Silver Knights when they made it to the 2021 Calder Cup playoffs. Now, the Henderson Silver Knights did not go far in that postseason, but Logan Thompson was in net, and he was your starting goaltender in the AHL. And what's really interesting about that 2020-2021 season is not only was he named the AHL Goaltender of the Month at least once, actually, at the beginning of the year, but at the end of the season, Logan Thompson would actually be named to the, when it comes to the AHL, they have this system, right? So the AHL, at the end of the year, Logan Thompson would be named on their list of the Pacific Division All-Star team, which means that if they would have had an All-Star during the pandemic, Logan Thompson would have been an All-Star. He also was on the All-Rookie team in 2020-2021, and most importantly, Logan Thompson was named the AHL Goaltender of the Year. So for a guy like Logan Thompson to kind of start out in year one with the Vegas Golden Knights organization, to have a really good regular season in Henderson, to go into the playoffs, to be the starting goaltender when the Henderson Silver Knights participated in the 2021 Calder Cup playoffs, and then to be on the All-Star team and be goaltender of the year. That was an impressive start for Logan Thompson. It really showed you who he could be moving forward. But what about the Vegas Golden Knights itself? Well, in March of 2021, due to injuries, Logan Thompson would get his opportunity, as on March 10th, Logan Thompson would be promoted from the AHL to the NHL. And then on March 16th, when Marc-Andre Fleury, there'd be a situation there, Logan Thompson would make his NHL debut. He would make some saves for the Vegas Golden Knights, but he would make that debut against the Minnesota Wild. So in his first season playing with the Golden Knights organization, you have all these amazing stats in the AHL. You get promoted to the NHL for the first time, and then you even play your first ever game in the NHL against the Minnesota Wild. So, you know, with Logan Thompson, it was going to be curious to see what he would do in year two for 2021, 2022. But based off of his results in 2020, 2021, it seemed like his momentum was shooting upwards, that he was going on a trajectory that was just going to keep getting better and better and better with your Vegas Golden Knights organization. Well, 2021, 2022, it would be a interesting transition for Logan Thompson because there was a little bit of a regression in the AHL, but a really good ending in the NHL. As for Logan Thompson, he would play out there in Henderson. And once again, thank to you for hockeyreference.com for giving us this data. In 2021, 2022, he would have 13 wins, 9 losses, and 4 overtime losses. He actually would have a goals against average of 2.77 and a save percentage down to 92%. So not as good as what it was the year prior. However, when it came to Logan Thompson, he actually wouldn't play in the playoffs in 2022 for the Calder Cup because the Silver Knights would not make the playoffs in 2022. So for Logan Thompson, that is going to be the end of his AHL run. After 2021-22, you would never see Logan Thompson again suit up for the Henderson Silver Knights. And the reason for this is that in January of 2022, he would play not only his first ever NHL start for the Vegas Golden Knights, but Logan Thompson would then proceed to have a really good end of the 2022 season. As for Logan Thompson, he would have 19 starts on the year and have 10 wins, 5 losses, and 3 overtime losses. Now, was this be due to injury? Yes, it was. Because of the uncertainty of the Vegas Golden Knights, Robin Leonard, there was a situation going on there. You also had the problems with the backup goaltenders, them getting injured. So, Logan Thompson starting 19 games in the NHL that year really showed you that he could be a future mainstay at the NHL level for someone like Logan Thompson. And, this was confirmed by Vegas, as around the end of the 22 season, the Vegas Golden Knights would give Logan Thompson a contract extension, would give him a 3-year deal, a little over $2 million, and Logan Thompson would no longer be on the entry-level deal, but he would be on a 3-year contract, so it would keep him on the Vegas Golden Knights organization until 2024-2025, or supposed to be until 2024-2025. So for Logan Thompson, you get your feet wet. You've gotten yourself established now in the NHL. You played a lot of the last 2 months of the year for the Golden Knights organization. So what was next for Logan Thompson? Well, in the beginning of the 2022-2023 season, a spot would open up for Logan Thompson. As with Robin Leonard having surgery and him being out for the entire 2022-2023 season, Logan Thompson would be the starting goaltender for your Vegas Golden Knights. And this was big. This was huge to have someone like Logan Thompson be the opening day starting goaltender for the Vegas Golden Knights. You have to remember, they had Marc-Andre Fleury for 4 years. And then Robin Leonard was the starting goaltender the previous year in 21-22. So if you were a Vegas Golden Knights fan, you're taking a big risk and a big opportunity on this young up-and-coming goaltender to be your main guy for the 22-23 season. So how did Logan Thompson perform in 22-23? Excellently. Logan Thompson in 22-23, not only was the Vegas Golden Knights winning games left and right in the beginning of 22-23, but Logan Thompson was a main reason why they were winning a lot of these games. His performance in net, he was sturdy. He was doing a lot of good stuff in net for the Vegas Golden Knights. As a matter of fact, with Logan Thompson, those first 3 months of the year, he was performing on his head. He was making save after save after save. And for Logan Thompson, he even was named to the NHL All-Star game. Just imagine that. You're in year 3 of the Golden Knights organization. You spent the previous 2 years mostly being in the AHL. And in your first full season playing in the NHL, you not only lead the Vegas Golden Knights to one of the best records in hockey up to that point, but this is also the same Logan Thompson that gets named to an All-Star game in his first full season. Like I said, his trajectory was doing this. All right, that is what he was doing in terms of his career. It seemed like Logan Thompson was on building blocks, and he was just getting better and better and better after every single season. Unfortunately, there would be a setback with Logan Thompson, is that he unfortunately would get injured during the 2022-23 season, and he would be out for a couple of months. And when it came to Logan Thompson, some people look at this in a positive way. Some people look at this in a negative way. Let's talk about both perspectives for just a second. So in the beginning of February, after the All-Star break, Logan Thompson would suffer an injury against the Minnesota Wild. Interesting, by the way, the connection there. He makes his first ever debut against the Minnesota Wild. He gets injured against the Minnesota Wild. Hey, you know what? There's always connections everywhere. But when it comes to Logan Thompson, he gets hurt in February. He misses pretty much the rest of February. He misses majority of March. He comes back for a one-off start against the Calgary Flames. That injury gets flared up again, and Logan Thompson is out for the remainder of the 2022-2023 season. And the Vegas Golden Knights with Adin Hill, with Laurent Brisebois, with Jonathan Quick, with Yuri Patera, Logan Thompson would not play for the remainder of the year, and this just so happened to be the season where your Vegas Golden Knights win a Stanley Cup. Now, that positive and negative that I'm talking about, here's the positive that you could spin on this. The positive is that when Logan Thompson gets hurt, Adin Hill steps up, and Adin Hill becomes the goaltender and wins a Stanley Cup with the Vegas Golden Knights. All right, that's the positive spin on it. Is that when Logan Thompson got hurt, it essentially freed up and allowed Adin Hill to become the goaltender we saw for the remainder of that season, him making amazing saves left and right. And then the other positive is that because Logan Thompson played majority of the first half of the year, he did celebrate with the team. He was on the ice for the Stanley Cup celebration, and he does have his name engraved on the Stanley Cup. So that will never be taken away from him forever. Logan Thompson will be a Stanley Cup champion for the rest of his life. The negative, though, is kind of a spin on the positive I just mentioned half a minute ago. The negative is that Logan Thompson never got to be in that Stanley Cup playoff with the Vegas Golden Knights. So a negative is that even though Adin Hill was performing amazingly, Logan Thompson never got to skate and be on the ice and be on the net for Vegas when they won that Stanley Cup. It was Adin Hill and Laurent Brisebois were your two goaltenders to begin the 2022-2023 Stanley Cup playoffs. Now, if Logan Thompson was in net, would the circumstances be different? Hey, I'm not a genie. I don't know. Would the Vegas Golden Knights still want a Stanley Cup? Once again, I don't have a crystal ball. I can't tell you that. But when it comes to Logan Thompson, that first half of the year, people forget that he was actually in Rookie of the Year contention. All right? He was not going to win the Calder Trophy, but there was a possibility of him receiving some votes. I remember that. I remember the first couple of months of the year when we were doing Vegas Hockey Hub, actually, when I was mentioning how well Logan Thompson was doing, he could have been top 5 in the Calder Trophy that year because he was performing so well for the Vegas Golden Knights, and he did an impressive job in net. So Logan Thompson at the end of 2022, 2023, you win a Stanley Cup, you have the championship, you have the Stanley Cup ring, you have all the merchandise and memorabilia. He spent a day with the Stanley Cup like all of the champions do when it comes to Stanley Cup. But for Logan Thompson, what would be next for him? How would the 2023-2024 season perform for Logan Thompson? Well, before we get into that, I just want to quickly pivot to one important aspect. In that 2023-2024 season, Robin Lehner is still out. He is done for that entire year. He's not going to play. Jonathan Quick, he moves over to New York Rangers. He's going to back up Igor Shesterkin. So Logan Thompson and Adin Hill, plus Yuri Patera, they would be the starting goaltenders for the Vegas Golden Knights. And for one of the only occasions I can come up with, the Vegas Golden Knights would not announce a permanent starting goaltender. Instead, they would do a tandem. All right, Logan Thompson and Adin Hill would be 1A, 1B to start the 2023-2024 season. Now, keep in mind that I said to start the year, they would be a tandem. Because by the end of the year, that's not what ended up happening. So at the beginning of the year, Adin Hill had a hot start to the year. He was one of the best goalies in the NHL. The Vegas Golden Knights won the first 7 games of the season. And Logan Thompson was doing a really good job, but Adin Hill was doing a great job in net. And Adin Hill seemed like he was the runaway to kind of lock up that starting job and not let it be a 1A, 1B situation with the way it was supposed to be intended. However, something would drastically change in the middle of the season. As in November of 2023, Adin Hill would suffer an injury against the Vancouver Canucks. And Adin Hill would miss a month and a half of the 2023-2024 season. And Logan Thompson would step up and be the permanent goaltender. And when he did, they were starting to rack up victories. They were starting to do relatively well. Yes, you're going to have your occasional loss here and there, but Logan Thompson was actually performing like an Iron Man. And with Logan Thompson in net, he was showing confidence. He was showing that he was firm and calm in the net. And more importantly, for a guy like Logan Thompson, that month and a half that Adin Hill was gone, Logan Thompson was starting, 3 out of 4 games. He was starting 4 out of 6 games. Logan Thompson transitioned into that starting goaltender role when Adin Hill was out. Now, fast forward to January. All right, after the Winter Classic, Logan Thompson was the starting goaltender for that game. I would know Vegas Hockey Hub was at the Winter Classic in Seattle. One of my favorite experiences, by the way, when it comes to being a hockey person. But for Logan Thompson, Adin Hill comes back in the beginning of January, but Adin Hill doesn't look right. All right, he would have some good performances against New York. He would do well against New Jersey, but Logan Thompson would still be doing a relatively good job when he would go back to being a 1A, 1B situation. So, what would happen with Adin Hill? Well, he would get hurt again. And when Adin Hill gets hurt again, Logan Thompson, and I wanted to look this up to make sure I was right, Logan Thompson would start 15 of the next 19 games that Adin Hill would be out. And for a guy like Logan Thompson to perform that many games during that time period, he was really showing that, hey, if you need a starting goaltender, I can be your guy. And it also didn't help that Yuri Patera would get hurt after the Colorado Avalanche game, and Logan Thompson would even be counted on more to be in the starting goaltender position for your Vegas Golden Knights, as Isaiah Seville would be the backup goaltender for a little bit. So for Logan Thompson, during the month of January, February, and the beginning of March, he was what I call on a streak. And Logan Thompson, yes, there was going to be some losses. There were some terrible losses during that time period, but there was also a stretch where Logan Thompson would win 4 out of 5 games. There would be a stretch where Logan Thompson would have a couple of great performances back to back to back. And even when Adin Hill came back from injury towards the end of March at the beginning of April, Adin Hill still did not look right. And Adin Hill was not looking like the guy he was previously. Whereas Logan Thompson, he was racking up victories. He would actually have a very good end to 2023-2024 season when it came to his performance in net. So, to start the 2024 Stanley Cup playoffs, Bruce Cassidy would announce that Logan Thompson would be in net to begin the 2024 Stanley Cup playoffs. And this is huge because you have to remember what had happened 12 months prior. You have to remember that Adin Hill was in net and Laurent Brisebois was in net for the 2023 Stanley Cup playoffs because Logan Thompson got hurt. And in a way, Logan Thompson was in net for the Vegas Golden Knights 2024 because Adin Hill kept on getting hurt. So, how did Logan Thompson perform in the 2024 Stanley Cup playoffs for your Vegas Golden Knights? Well, to say that he was one of the most impactful players when he was on the ice would be an understatement. To say that his performance that he had at T-Mobile Arena, a game that we were at, by the way, and the fact that he had arguably one of the best goalie performances by a Vegas Golden Knight in Stanley Cup playoff history was exceptional. I keep telling people that this is a game that he's going to be remembered for years to come, as Logan Thompson would record 43 saves in Game 3 of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Logan Thompson would help the Vegas Golden Knights get to overtime against the Dallas Stars, and even though they lost in that game, you can't put any of that on Logan Thompson. Logan Thompson was arguably the main reason that they had even gotten into overtime to begin with. 40 3 saves in Game 3. This came off of him winning Game 1 and winning Game 2. So, if Logan Thompson had back-to-back-to-back performances where he had a great job doing what he was doing in net, well, what ended up happening with Logan Thompson, you might ask? Well, after those first 3 games, Logan Thompson would be playing in Game 4. He would not win that game. So after being 2-2, Adin Hill would replace Logan Thompson in Game 5. And despite losing Game 5, Adin Hill would go back in for Game 6. They would win that game. And then for the crucial Game 7, Logan Thompson was not in net, but Adin Hill was. And, you can use hindsight, and we can have this argument. We've done this on the show before. Should have Logan Thompson been pulled after Game 4? Should Adin Hill even started in the playoffs, considering how well Logan Thompson did in the first 3 games? That's up to you to decide. But for Logan Thompson to perform in 4 games in the playoffs and have this stat sheet, which, by the way, brought to you by HockeyReference.com. I always use my sources. So, for Logan Thompson, his stat line come the 2024 playoffs, he had a goals against average of 2.35 and a save percentage of around 92%. Like I said, for the playoffs, he did a relatively good job for what he had to do for the Vegas Golden Knights. So, after that season, we're heading into the offseason. All right, we're going to go into the draft here at the Sphere in Las Vegas. The first round comes and goes. Really no stuff happening. Trevor Connolly gets drafted by the Golden Knights. Good for them. But then the breaking news during the 2024 NHL draft, Logan Thompson requests a trade, and the Vegas Golden Knights honor it, and they would trade him to the Washington Capitals for not 1, but 2 third-round picks. One of them turning into Pavel Moisevich, who is a really talented goalie from the KHL out there in St. Petersburg. We'll see if he eventually turns into something down the road. But for Logan Thompson, after spending 4 seasons in the Golden Knights organization, his tenure would come to an end, and he would be suiting up for the Washington Capitals. Now, the reason why we're making this video is because of what is coming up. Now, Logan Thompson will be playing for the Washington Capitals. The Vegas Golden Knights will be going to Washington, and we also have a game later this year where the Washington Capitals come home and they take on the Vegas Golden Knights at T-Mobile Arena. So, regardless of when it happens, we want to make this video ahead of the Washington Capitals game, and we just wanted to say here on Vegas Hockey Hub, goodbye to Logan Thompson. Thank you for all you did in Vegas. We wish you the best of luck out there in DC, and we hope that you have a great rest of your career. We did the same thing for Riley Smith. We've done the same thing for Jonathan Marchessault, and we wanted to do the same for you. So, here on Vegas Hockey Hub, on PR Connections Radio, I'm your host, Ian Rachiele, and we just wanted to very quickly acknowledge that and just say thank you to Logan Thompson, and we wish him the best of luck. So until next time, I'm your host, Ian Rachiele, and go Knights, go.